Hi y'all, welcome and welcome back to the channel. My name is Sarah and I talk about books in my basement here. I didn't film an intro for this February Reads Part 2, so here's my intro. Let me jump you back to past Sarah, and they'll fill you in on the first portion of this, and then I'll see you again shortly. So it's like the 22nd. I have a small stack of things to talk about. Today has been, I don't know if any of y'all have toddlers, small children. She's not really a toddler anymore. My daughter's 4, and 4 so far has been the worst age. That's all I'm saying. It's rough. It's rough. So I'm very tired. I have been playing some video games, trying to veg, since she went to her grandparents for a nap. I am somewhat recovered. Not really, but somewhat. So I thought I'd talk to y'all about the books that I have read, which are stacked behind me here and in my hand. So let's talk about the ebooks that I read first, all of which were ARCs. At the top of that list is, yes, A Fate Inked in Blood by Daniel L. Jensen. And I gotta tell you, I don't think I will continue with Danielle L. Jensen books. They're just probably not for me. After finishing this one, I spoke with someone on Instagram, a mutual, and just this one was so mid to bad that I don't know that I have any interest in moving forward. So that's okay. That's okay. This is a Norse vibes only fantasy romance about a young woman who is coveted by people for her powers, which, because of a prophecy that was spoken supposedly to a man, she will make a king of him and he will rule all of the clans. The reason I say vibes only is because I didn't really see a lot of what I understand to be historically accurate representation in this, and it is a fantasy, so that's fair. So go into it not expecting any real accuracy outside of, the feeling, the setting maybe, and some of the names of the gods. Not all of them, just some of them are very much the same. There are other, nods. There's Jarls. They live in, I think at one point she does straight up call them a longhouse. Things like that. And, that's fine. I could rock with that. That's cool. My biggest problem with this is that because she has this coveted power, people either want to kill her or capture her. And not only do the bad guys want to do this, but the ruler of her clan is, there's something happening outside. I don't know what's going on out there. The ruler of their clan is blackmailing her into marrying her after she murders her husband, who was an abusive asshole to begin with. And said ruler also is just using her, so he is kind of terrible. His wife is absolutely horrible and is verbally abusive to our main character, Freya. And their son, who is her romantic interest, is also super sexist and cracks jokes about women and how they like to gossip and in their sewing circles and all this stuff. And the entire book is just filled with sexism and verbal abuse and misogyny and so here's where this bothers me, is that I feel like people can be strong in all circumstances, even those where they are being victimized and those when they aren't. So the fact that we have to read about her constantly being victimized over and over and over and over and over again for us to somewhat believe she's strong, I don't know, it just bothered me. Also, I keep hearing this refrain that fantasy, epic fantasy, creates these toxic spaces and that women are treated badly and that female characters, women, femme presenting characters are all treated badly. It's sexist, it's misogynist. And then I don't see so much of that. I mean, you see it some, but then I pick up what is geared and aimed towards women, a fantasy romance, and that's all the book has in it. And in fact, that's what we're supposed to accept our main lead behaving that way. I have a problem there. I really don't. I don't like it. So like, no thank you. There was one part I really did enjoy where they climbed this like cave system and there were some undead there. That was kind of neat. But as soon as they ran out of the cave, she's being attacked. She's being told how weak she is. She has to be saved from these people who want her for this power that she barely controls. And it's just, not for me. I put it a 3, but the longer I sit on it, the more frustrated I get with it. Like, the more frustrated I get. So it's more like a 2. It's like a 1.5. If I want to read about a strong female character, I want her to be an actual person and not a caricature of a victim who is being used over and over and over again by men and other women. Might I add, there is absolutely no redeemable other female characters in this. Everyone had their own like way of stabbing her in the back. Even at the beginning, her best friend growing up goes to give her something, and this guy who's supposed to be our romantic lead like calls her out for being manipulative and using the main character or carrying a weight and then blaming the it was just weird and icky. The whole time I felt like all the other female characters were being villainized for the sake of this main character. That's it. I think I'll stop. I didn't like it. I really didn't enjoy my time reading it. I was just like, no thanks. No thanks. The other book that I was kind of meh on, not like super strong opinions like that one, was Fathom Folk by Eliza Chan. This comes out next week. This is, think Babel, but put it in a half-submerged mythological creature-inhabited city. So this is a story about a conflict that arises from the humans and the Fathom Folk. So those beings that dwell underneath the water, think aquatic sort of dragons. We've got kappas, we've got, various things like that live in the water, mermaids, sirens, that thing. They're all kind of forced together and they're having to coexist in this submerged city. But things are coming to a head, and she is very obviously using Fathom Folk to represent like Asian cultures and that sort of thing, and just the humans who we actually don't see anything of just the humans, I guess, are others. The whole book is from Fathom Folk perspectives, and we get no real human characters outside of these stereotypical, like, corrupt politicians, corrupt police officers, that sort of thing. And that's kind of all it is it's these two groups coming to a head in this big standoff. And we have 3 point of view characters: a half siren who is in the police force, the border guard. We have a young woman who has been exiled from her underwater home city. She is a dragon. She's one of the last of her kind. There's only like 3 dragons, I think, that they know of, and she has been exiled to this big city. Her mother is the queen, leader of the Fathom Folk, and has brokered a truce with the humans by giving them one of her dragon pearls, which I believe were like her eggs, an unhatched egg. And Nami does something incredibly stupid at the beginning of the book surrounding that pearl and is exiled to this main city. The final point of view is a woman named Cordelia, who had the most interesting setup to her story. She wears many faces, she is up to many things, but ultimately she is trying to protect herself and her children. That is her only interest. She is what I would call like the chaotic neutral character of the book, right? The police guard I kind of classed in my review as the lawful good character, and Nami, the young woman, is the too stupid to live stereotype. She had no alignment because she was too stupid to live. That was probably my big thing with this book that really killed it. I absolutely loved the setting, I loved the setup, I loved the idea and themes that we were starting to drive at, but the characters as vessels for the story were just, they didn't work at all. And I am not the only person who seems to have had that complaint. When I wrote my review and posted, I went back and looked at other people's thoughts and feelings, and they're much the same. These characters were very flat. They felt like stereotypes. Nami especially, it was just a stereotype. There was nothing between her ears, and she was used to present a point that the author wanted to make, and that point I don't think it was a great one. You know, the folly of youth, the failure of passionate people, that sort of thing. And then where the characters were so flat, the viewpoint switches were so quick, we had very short chapters, that it didn't quite connect, unfortunately. And there were a lot of scenes where things would happen, but we wouldn't see it happen. We would get it teased from one point of view, and then it would leap forward in time, and we would find out what had actually happened. So it wasn't a hit for me. I give this one also a 3. Like I said, the setting was very strong, the ideas were very strong, the building of the magic, there was a lot of promise there, but the characters just really killed the whole story. It was not great. But on to things that I did enjoy a lot. Those would be the physical books that I read. I read Eva Evergreen, Semi-Magical Witch, because I want to watch and participate a little bit in the live show that the Black Hat Book Coven is doing over here on YouTube. This is the story of Eva. Oh god, ow. Eva Evergreen. She is a 13-year-old witch who is going out to prove herself as a novice witch. She has some struggles getting her novice witch quest. You find out there's a lot of political and a clearly not good guy reasons at the root of this, and she ends up in a small sleepy coast town, and she has to help the town over the course of a month or she will not become a novice witch. All the while there is this great storm that is creeping closer to the people. It wreaks havoc every year. No one knows where it comes from or why it comes, and her task as set by the mayor of this town is to find a way to help this town protect itself from this big storm. I enjoyed this. It was cute. I actually don't think I'll keep my physical copy, to be honest with you. I will likely trade it in at my local used bookstore. This has intense Kiki's Delivery Service vibes. So much so that the plot points almost seem lifted from Kiki's. There's a lot of things in this that were very much just straight up from Kiki's Delivery Service, to a fault. The young witch going off to prove herself in another town. If you've read the original novel that the movie is based off of, you'll definitely recognize the original Kiki's novel that movie is based off. You'll recognize a lot of the plot points from this. She does put some of her own twist on it, and it is geared a little bit towards a younger audience, but it's very much, it felt like a rewritten, repackaged Kiki's Delivery Service, and for that I did have to dock it a star, at least one, because it was strange how much alike. It felt a little long too for a book that takes place over the course of a month. We spend a lot of time in single moments and then skip huge chunks of time in odd ways that the pacing was very slow. So I didn't hate it, I didn't love it, but I did enjoy it. So if you have a middle grade reader who likes longer books, this might be a good one to pick up. And if you like Kiki's Delivery Service, you might want to try it. But it is very much Kiki's. I'm not gonna say ripped off, but it's like a dupe. It's like a dupe. It's not bad, but it's not great. The two very good books that I've read the past few days are my audiobook read, which was the 4th Criminal Intentions. This one's called Changing Faces, and this takes place directly after the end of the 3rd book, in which Malcolm is hurt quite badly, and Sung Jae has to continue working on his own for a while. They are partners. The series follows 2 detectives in I want to say it's Boston, I can never remember, the Baltimore police office, and they are investigating various crimes that are slowly coming to a head to a meta plot. And this is a queer person of color cast and makes a lot of comments and observations about the police force at large, while also following the slow burn romance. And it is episodic, almost like TV show. It's fantastic. I'm loving it. And the audiobooks are great. If you want to try these on audio, I highly recommend. But this volume follows mainly Sung Jae as he investigates the murder of a man, the death of a man that he has been told is rather suspicious, and he agrees. He is investigating this, and we see him struggle with the idea of morality and how the system does and doesn't succeed for certain groups of people, mainly battered women, abuse survivors, things like that. And we see him deal with that. Also deal with the fact that he has to return to his previous station, I forget, was it San Francisco or somewhere? He has to return back to where he was working previously to testify in a case where his partner shot a suspect. So like we've got that going on, a lot of moral questions going on for Song Jae, and Malcolm is recovering from his injuries, and he is not dealing with, but he is reunited almost with his ex-wife. She comes into the picture to help take care of him while he is down, and she is moving back to Baltimore. So it's very short for having covered all of that, but it was very good. I really enjoyed it, and it really gave a lot more insight to Song Jae and where he comes from, and we get a lot more teasing snippets of his history. We're seeing a lot of what our meta plot is going to be. There is someone in Song Jae's past who is slowly creeping their way up into his present, and not in a nice way. And we're seeing Malcolm struggle with, you know, having his ex-wife in the picture, and then having Song Jae there, and what's going on. We also get a little bit more of the police captain. She is in a relationship that kind of breaks off at the beginning of the book, and we see her struggle with that. Great freaking series. Love it so much. I can't wait. The 5th book is on its way to me, and I have the audio version. I'm going to listen to it when I finish my current audiobook read. Can't recommend that series enough. And the final book that I finished just last night is Radiance by Grace Draven. This is a reread for me. I read this back when it came out. Oh god, I don't even know when. But I loved it when it came out. Let's see, does it say 2014? I read this that long ago. I remember it. And I loved it then, and I love it now. This is romantic fantasy. This is a fantasy book with a romance within it. And so good. It's so good. This is the story of Rishan and I can never remember Ildiko. Ildiko? I'm not sure how you would say her name. I'm gonna say Ildiko. Rishan is a member of a race called the Kai. They are dark-skinned with solid black eyes or golden eyes depending on the lighting. I think it's mainly golden. They usually go muted when they have extreme emotions, but they're usually golden from what I recall. And they are night dwellers. They live at night. They don't like the sun. They're very sensitive to it. And Ildiko is a human. She is the unwanted, like sort of unwanted niece of the king of the human lands, one of the particular human lands, and Brescian is the unwanted, he's like the spare to the heir of the Kai. And for political reasons, these two are wed. Now, they do not find each other attractive at all. She refers to him as a dead eel, and he refers to her as a hag. They are deeply not attracted to each other. They find each other both hideous. They are very upfront about this at the beginning, and they kind of strike up this friendship, right? They're from two very different cultures. She's from a day living culture. He's from one that lives at night. Their two peoples find each other unattractive. He has a face full of a mouthful of fangs, you know, her flat teeth and white around her eyes super disturb him. It's very fascinating, and Grace Draven does an amazing job really selling you on that. There are chapters where Brescian talks about her eyes and how he could see the whites of her eyes, and it even makes you like think, oh god, yeah, the whites of our eyes are a little weird when you think about it that way. Like, it's very good. Their relationship doesn't really mature past a friendship. They come into this relationship with a deep respect for each other because they meet and respect each other, and they like each other as people, even though they physically recoil at times from each other's appearances. They become friends and become very close friends, and eventually they do fall in love, but that's much later in the book. Until then, we get a lot of political machinations. We meet a lot of characters who are going to set up the overall story. And at the end, we see the tip-off to what's going to be a big conflict in book 2, which I actually haven't read yet, so I'm very excited about. And we, at the end of this, do get the culmination of their relationship. They do come together as a couple, so it's very good. The next book follows them again as they deal with what his absolutely unhinged mother has done. I hope she is actually dead. I don't know, but I sincerely hope so. There is, for those that are bothered by a death of a small infant on the page in this. I remembered it coming, so I was fine, but like it's described, it's not fun, and she gets hers, the woman who does it, so it's fine. Loved this. This is, like I said, this is a fantasy with romance that I loved, and I cannot wait. I just got the second one today. I'm probably going to pick it up very, very soon. I'm not going to get these done in time for the read along. I think we were supposed to read all 3 this month, but I really enjoyed it. I'm definitely going to finish, and I think the third book actually follows his cousin and the border lord of the humans, the other border lord of the humans that gets along really well with Brishan, and I'm very excited because I love those two together and I want to see them, like, I want to see them married. They're very sweet. That's it. That's everything I've read. Like I said, it's the 22nd. I will try to have at least one more update for this, like, video. This is 22 minutes. Most of that was me complaining about A Fate Inked in Blood. I'll try to trim most of that off. So what I'm currently reading, I am listening to the audiobook of Tress of the Emerald Sea. I am still reading the Death Path, and I will finish that. And my current Kindle arc is Kindling by Tracy Chee, and I love it. I love it so far. I can't wait to talk about that one. That is it for this update. I will talk to you guys again in a couple seconds. Bye. Surprise, it's me again. So, February reads. I need to wrap up a few things with y'all. It's been an weirdly exhausting few days, week or two, so I haven't, it's like March 5th, 6th, so I'm doing this late. But I do have a couple of things to talk about if I can find my page. Here we go. Yes. So, the first of those things. Let me find them. Okay. The first thing I'm going to talk about, and may end up editing this out because I have talked about this so much in other videos that I am not sure, in like on Bookstagram, that I'm not sure if I've talked about it here in this update like format, but that is Kindling by Tracy Chee. This is out now. I read it as an arc, and as you can assume from me holding it in my hands, I adored this. This was incredible in every way for me. This is told in second perspective, so to you as the reader and character, and this is a Seven Samurais inspired story about six girls and one non-binary individual who are recovering from being child soldiers. In this world, you have magic that you are born with, however, it drains you. It takes away your life force, and your lifespan is typically like early 20s, late 20s if you're very lucky. And this world has been at war for a long time, so these kingdoms have determined, instead of burning out soldiers in a couple of months, you know, it seems totally reasonable to use child soldiers, and that's what these people were. So they are recovering from this. Their two warring empires are at peace. There's a treaty. So this is their story as they recover from PTSD, addictions, dealing with peace, and learning to work together with other soldiers from the other side. And their job is simple. They are simply going to protect a small village from a raider crew that is going to come and wipe them out. Absolutely phenomenal. I cannot recommend this enough. The writing style is going to be probably the biggest hurdle, I think, for most people with this, because again, it's second person and we head flip constantly. We are in everyone's head at some point. There are 7 main characters. You can do the math. If you don't like that kind of a format, it's gonna be a struggle bus. If you don't mind, it's absolutely beautiful, and I loved it more than anything. This is going to be a best book of the year. I fully intend on rereading this year, and she has 2 other books that I'm going to pick up. We Are Not Free and 1,000 Steps into Night. So having read this, I am now going to try out the rest of her work to see if I like it. Also, this is just a reflection. Absolutely beautiful. This is not getting near enough buzz. It deserves so much more. The next book I finished, The Death Path by Alex Gilbert. This is the 3rd Calamitous Bob, and this was fantastic. So the previous 2, I'll go ahead and say I had some issues with some of the phrasing on some things and some words that were used. This one has cleaned that up almost entirely. I can't recall an instance in here where I was like, ooh. This was great. I loved it. This one was a 5-star. So the Calamitous Bob series, if you are new here, is the story of Viv. She is a soldier in Afghanistan, a French soldier, and she is effectively isekai'd into another world. A god from this world switches bodies with her. He takes her body on Earth and he gives her a brand new body on his world. However, he miscalculates, and her brand new body is dropped in the throne room of a ruined empire. This empire fell several hundred thousands of years ago, and she is the only living being there. This area is also saturated with black mana, which you can kind of see this has kind of got some darker magic tones to it. She has to learn to both deal with this black mana and deal with the fact that she's in an entirely new world. She makes friends along the way. She adopts a draconic daughter, which Arthur is my joy in these books. Arthur is fantastic. And she may or may not, willing or unwillingly, be rebuilding the empire she was born into, thanks to the guidance of her trusty war golem friend Sulfus. He is there fighting with her. He looks terrifying on purpose. And this is the third book. The group has traveled from this ruined kingdom, and they are now in a small borderland village, more of a town. Things have gone badly for that town. They had to flee. They fled with most of the town, and they have kind of taken these people under their wings. Viv has become almost like their leader, and now she is defending them and helping them rally, and they're going to take back that town. I'm not going to give any more for the synopsis on this. These books are a decent length, and they do last me quite a while. The fourth book doesn't look nearly as long. I have it upstairs. I've already started it because I could not wait. This builds up to a big confrontation with someone that's going to take place in the fourth book, and it's going to be great. This is also a lit RPG, so this is a very small one. She collects skills. This is very normal in this world. You have classes and skills, and as you move through life, you will level these up. Your job proficiencies, things like that, all tie in to that. She is obviously a black mana user because that is what she was saturated with when she was reborn, and she is becoming a black, she starts off, I can't remember what her starting class was, but she is basically a black witch at this point, and her spells are one of the funniest parts in this. She did not realize when she started casting spells that the words that she was using to cast the spells were the spell's actual names now. So she has some very funny spells, like a giant shield that she throws up is the Nope spell. It's fun. This was in the Royal Road book story that was published serially on the Royal Road website, and now Alex Gilbert is putting it out in volumes. Why is this so hard for me to say? It's still on Royal Road. It's ongoing, and there are 5 volumes on Amazon. So if you do pick it up and you enjoy it, and you can do the serial reading, I can't. I lose it. You can read it there as well. Again, love that series. Love that volume. I'm already on volume 4. It's one of my favorite series right now. And the last book that I read was, I have to check. I keep wanting to say the. It's not the. Is Time Marked Warlock by Shami Stovall. This was an arc. This was coming out in March, but is now coming out in April. And this is the story of Finch. Finch is the Time Marked Warlock of the title, and he can rewind time to a certain point if he has marked that point. Sort of like a save point. He basically can save point at a timestamp and roll back time to that timestamp. I think it's within 24 hours. So Finch is asleep early one morning, and someone beats on his door and wakes him up. Doing the smart thing, he marks the time and answers the door, and it's a young girl whose mother has been murdered in front of her and her father kidnapped. And she says, "Mother told me if anything went wrong to come to you, you would help." So there she is. And the story follows them as they attempt to solve her mother's murder and find her father who's kidnapped. The interesting part about this is that the book, because of Finch's ability, he can roll back time, and he can mark people so that they roll back with him, so they will remember the day even though he has rolled back the time. Timey-wimey stuff is not my jam. I don't like it, but it's done really well in this because I could visualize it as like a save point, and it was fantastic. So not only does he help her with her grief, give her time to grieve, he and her begin to solve this murder mystery, and they're frequently having to reset and go back. and it became a little repetitive at some points, but then quickly she handles it very well. Shami does this very well. There was a bit of time where it was repetitive, but then it started to be condensed. We knew what was going to happen, so we were able to skip almost through the almost through the steps. There is a repeating theme of this girl is making him a better person. He's dealing with grief, she's dealing with grief, and she is on the cusp of coming into her witch powers, and she has to decide if she wants to be a witch, and she sees him working and decides maybe she wants to be a warlock, so she's stuck between those two things. And there is a, like I said, whole urban fantasy thing going on. I really loved this. I'm still thinking about it. I finished this in February, like late February. It's been at least 2 weeks since I finished it, and I'm still thinking about it, so I really enjoyed it. I will be getting a physical copy when it comes out. Can't wait for this one. I will put a release date in the comments of this video, and it'll be on my Bookstagram when it's released, so if you're interested in it at all, keep an eye out in those places, and I'll let you know when it's out. That was everything that I read in February. Just a 2 update video. Like I said, have been weirdly exhausted for the past 3 weeks and sick, so not a whole lot. I haven't been able to update much. I am going to go film the first part of my March updates because, as always, I strive to do better. And I will see you guys there. Thanks so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.